The voice of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
This is Gowri,
This is Arlene.
and you're listening to
Durian ASEAN.
which is the voice of discovery and sharing.
Not the fruit, right?
Not the fruit. So it's a beautiful Thursday morning.
Gowri, what were you thinking?
I was waiting for you. Just so you can say the wrong answer and I can make fun of you.
Well, it is a beautiful Thursday morning, but the day before, a lot of people were not aware of. Yesterday, Facebook shut down for 20 minutes.
Apparently, I wasn't even aware of that. What time did that happen?
I have no idea, but it costed a lot of havoc among the international community. In fact, some company even they even use the word, instead of going for Facebook, you should go for Facebook.
Facebook. Being sarcastic there.
Yeah. Meaning that, just, get rid of your social media and start meeting people, in cafe or on the streets or whatever.
But if you ask me, I think Facebook should shut down like 20 minutes every day so people can have some productive time, because people are just so addicted to Facebook and other social medias and they just cannot get off it, once they get on.
They cannot get off it. Unfortunately, Facebook is making billions in revenue when it comes to how social media is being used. And you cannot deny it. Facebook is part of our life. I cannot imagine every day, at least one day, if I don't have Facebook, it will be like a total loneliness.
Yeah, you have a serious addiction problem there.
I know.
I'll bring you to rehab later, okay? So guess what happened? We were talking about the Sedition Act yesterday.
We were.
How it's being abused, it's not being used in a reasonable way, and that we don't need it anymore. And then someone else got charged with the under the Sedition Act.
It's not us, right?
It's I hope so. Well, it's actually a politician from Sabah. He was charged for allegedly insulting Islam on Facebook.
Oh my God. Facebook
is like the
should
root
shut
of all
down.
problems.
I know, right? It should shut down for, at least 20 minutes a day, so people can stop using it for once and for all. But it's also interesting, the government is using Facebook to monitor citizens. Like, in the past, usually you would be charged for Sedition Act when you do a certain action, or you said something in the drama, or you basically write something seditious in the newspaper. But nowadays, even in the social media platform, where it's supposed to be a free space for everybody, the government is monitoring our every move.
It is so easy for them to monitor us, and everything is up there, everyone posts their status, and sometimes there's no limit. Of course, there's no one filtering what you say, and you can just post whatever you feel like saying, and you think it's the freedom of expression. But it can be taken out of context. Sometimes you don't mean it a certain way, but people can interpret it any way they like, and sometimes it does get interpreted the wrong way, and then you have a very high chance of getting charged under the Sedition Act.
And partly the Sedition Act is usually being focused towards people who are much more prominent. For example, the person that are being charged is a Sabahan politician. He's a local opposition politician named David Ora, and he will be claimed trial after being charged with sedition at the Sessions Court here yesterday.
And Oro, who was produced before the judge, Umu Khatom Abdul Samad, was accused of posting a statement insulting Islam and Prophet Muhammad on his Facebook page 2 months ago. So someone was really free enough to go and look up and dig and look at all his past posts and dig up something that was posted 2 months ago.
2 months ago is too long. People have long forgotten. And the person, David Ora, he's a state reform party. Actually, we are not really aware of all the diverse political parties in Sabah, but it's called State Reform Party, and he contested at the Sulaman state seat in the recent general election last year, and unfortunately he was charged under the section 41C of the Sedition Act 1948 that provided for a fine of up to 5,000 ringgit or a maximum jail term of 3 years.
And that is pretty much the same as what happened to Dr. Asmi Sharum, under the same section with the same amount of money. And this is just getting out of hand. Do you want to know who else got charged? Some reporter in Penang also got charged under the Sedition Act.
Is it just recent or?
Yeah, I just found it. It happened yesterday. It was reported, and this is a news portal reporter. So this is not even someone prominent. This is not a politician. It's actually just a news person like us, like you and me. And this person is charged under the let me see. Yeah, it's under the 401C of the Sedition Act 1948 for publishing a seditious article. But
what is that
I don't find any information regarding that article yet. And along with this person, they also investigated someone from the PPS. Of course, that was also a huge issue in Penang over the weekends during the Merdeka. So we already have 3 people in just a few days.
And interestingly, they are either academician, people from the civil society, or opposition party leaders.
And Lim Guan Eng has said that the state government will, of course, provide assistance to the reporter. And he also said, which is great, he brought up the fact that, news portals should be left alone to ensure freedom of speech. Because this goes back to George Orwell's 1984, how we're constantly being watched, our freedom of expression is being curbed, and every move there's somebody watching you, and you have to be so careful. It's kind of going back to that, don't you feel it?
But on the flip side, looking back at why we have Sedition Act, somehow it is justifiable in a very narrow understanding of why it is, it is usable. But it's only usable when it's threatening our national security, I think. If you want to talk about the current situation right now, I don't think any of the people that are being charged right now pose any threats towards our national security.
And I found one article this morning. I wish I had it right now because it was an opinion page, and he started out by saying Salam Satu Seditious.
Oh, really? Who was that?
And I thought that was really, really clever, and it kind of shows where we're heading right now at the moment. It's always Salam Satu Malaysia and all that, but we're moving away from that, and we're heading in this different direction now where people just keep getting charged.
It's also interesting that if I'm mistaken, it was last year, the government make a commitment to replace or to repeal the Seditious Act to the National Harmony Act, which is a move forward. But until now, there's no news whether the National Harmony Act will be implemented or not.
But we will be speaking to someone later on regarding the matter, so perhaps we'll find out and we'll ask him what he knows about the Sedition Act.
Oh, sure.
And moving on to Myanmar. Myanmar has a calculation problem here where they actually thought they had more people in the country, but turns out it was a lot less than that. So instead of being home to 60 million people, as the government had very long estimated, the survey released on Friday found that the long isolated country's population is actually closer to just 51 million. That is like 9 million short of their estimate, and this was reported by BBC.
And while the AP headlined, Myanmar discovers it has only 51 million people. And headlines aside though, most experts aren't actually that surprised. Demographers long claimed that the 60 million figure was widely inflated. Moreover, they say that the Myanmar government should have known it was way off. 60 million is a lot of people,
It's a lot, and to actually miscalculate your entire nation's population by 9 million, that is a huge figure off. And that, of course, comes with a lot of implications, especially in terms of economy, because when you project yourself to be a country with 60 million people, I'm sure that attracts more opportunities, more foreign investment, like even what we read about Japan yesterday, that they're planning to tap into the Myanmar market. But that might not be the case now.
Even with a lot, even the population is inflated until 60 million or less, it doesn't make any difference because Myanmar is among the poorest country in this region, unfortunately. And when it comes to labor force, it seems like they have smaller consumer base and labor force, which could actually affect, you're right, international investment. But at the same time, we have to look at the socio-economic factor as well. And from what it seems, they are still at the rate where they can't afford to have a higher consumer power.
But even if they have it's either a bigger consumer base or a smaller consumer base, the fact that they do have 51 million people, which is still a huge number, couldn't that still trigger the economy in a way?
Well, the thing about Myanmar that is different from regions such as Malaysia or Indonesia is it is diverse, but at the same time, it is not as well developed, only in certain area like Yangon. And even Yangon is not really considered an area that is as developed as Kuala Lumpur or Jakarta. And that makes a lot of difference when it comes to consumer power. You want to have a good number of middle class citizens to be able to afford or to consume certain goods and also to generate higher economic activity there.
And this survey also highlighted the country's chronic ethnic conflicts. As we all know, in the western Rakhine state, the site of widespread persecution of Rohingya Muslims, concerns about the listing of Rohingya as an ethnicity on the consensus prompted violent protests by Rakhine Buddhists. Ultimately, the government barred respondents from stating their ethnicity as Rohingya.
This was actually reported by Duran ASEAN a couple of months ago in April, when the census started. When they started the census, they rank everyone in terms of what ethnicity. One of the rank is about their ethnicity, whether you are a Burmese, you are a Shan, or you are a Rohingya. But unfortunately, since the government do not recognize Rohingya, it wasn't put inside the census. In fact, they were categorized under the category Bengali or foreigner. To them, the Rohingya people are not part of the citizens of Myanmar, even though they still count them in as part of the census project that the government was embarking.
So they are being ostracized by the community, and they cannot state what their ethnicity is. That gives them a really hard time in their own country. And it also goes back to the fact that out of the 51 million people, there are still a lot of this crisis happening, and there's yet to be a concrete solution to any of that problem.
The issue of the Rakhine, the issue of the Rohingya people is not as simple as to just for the government to allow, them to be part of the Myanmar or the Burmese society. The problem is rooted in the past, where there's a lot of distrust happening between the Muslim there and also the majority Buddhists there. So the best way is for the government and society to be educated on the importance of multiculturalism. A lot of countries that have high density of diverse society, for example, your favorite country, Canada, it embarks a lot of its revenue, a lot of its budget and allocation towards providing equal opportunity either in workplace or in public, in terms of creating this idea of multiculturalism or a Canadian identity in essence.
It's hard because we try as much as we can to celebrate diversity over here, but it seems that it can also be a hindering block in a way when you have too many races and too much bias going on, too much prejudice going on, and that kind of stops you from really achieving your full potential. Even in Malaysia, we keep having this problem. We try to deny it, but it's the elephant in the room. And
I mean, any government should have the political will. That's the fact. If you look at very diverse places or cities or country even, the reason why they are able to ensure that society, treat each other with respect and care is to really have this top-down or bottom-up mindset in terms of creating this idea of multiculturalism. It's not easy, but it's the way forward. You cannot just blame one race just because of some of the bad ones that you identify. In terms of culture, in terms of mindset, of course there will be differences.
And Malaysia also happens to be doing really well, actually, in the recent global competitive ranking. It seems that Malaysia's ranking in the Global Competitiveness Report 2014-2015 has improved to the 20th position out of 144 economies, ahead of some of very developed countries such as Australia, France, and South Korea. And this last year, actually, the country was ranked at the 24th position, and this year we moved up 4 spots to into the top 20 of economies in the world.
That shows something, isn't it?
That it seems like we are moving forward, and our economy is picking up, is doing well, and among other Asia Pacific countries, this is actually reported by the Star Online, Malaysia has improved to 6th position out of 28 countries, compared with 7th in the previous year, but this is just looking at Asia as a whole.
What about other countries in Southeast Asia?
Well, we only have South Korea here. I don't have any other specific numbering for the countries.
Perhaps we will be dissecting the global competitive ranking later on.
Yeah, perhaps we can do that. Because for now, we do know that the 114 criteria was organized into 12 pillars. And Mustafa said that the nation's biggest development was institutions, followed by financial market development.
Do you think Malaysia's spot ranked at 24th among 148 countries, and being better there, being one spot maybe less, one spot below France, and also better than South Korea, is justifiable?
It depends on the areas that they're looking at, because right now we do not have the specifics, we do not have the categories that actually were used in rating these countries, so it will be a bit hard to say, but the fact that we are ahead some of the developed countries definitely shows that we are having some positive growth in the economy right now.
Another highlight of the WEF, or the World Economic of the World Economic Forum's of its Global Competitive Report, shows that Malaysia needs to improve in a few areas, such as participation of women in workforce, government's budget balance, international internet bandwidth, and technological readiness. Talking about participation of women in the workforce, well, the government has done something. For example, to have 30% of women in the board or in the management, to hold management roles within any companies.
But if you look at it that way, it's great that they have 30% increase, but shouldn't there be no bias at all towards women? We have come so far from back then, from civilization, and the feminism started a long time ago, the fight for equality, equal rights for men and women, but it seems that there is still a huge prejudice when it comes to employment. It's inevitable that when people look at you and they think you're a woman, they immediately think that you're a woman. I mean, when they look at you, sometimes you don't look like a woman like me. they immediately assume that you are less capable than a man, and we should just do away with it completely.
It's all a lot of it rooted in our culture, like we are so used to the idea that in the past we are so used to the idea that woman should be a homemaker and the man should be the one, seeking for bacon outside. And another area that Malaysia needs to tackle but has somehow improved in that particular area are issues related to corruption and red tape, which is interesting because in Malaysia, a lot of people complain that the government is still very corrupted. Doing business is not easy because you have to pay coffee table money, under the table money, and also there's a lot of red tape for you to jump, from one loop to another loop. It's not easy doing business in Malaysia, but it seems like the ranking is proving otherwise.
It is, but I think no matter what this ranking says, I will probably not believe it until I see it for myself, until I really see the improvement in the country. I mean, we are doing a great job as it is, but it would be better to even go further than where we already are, especially it's been 57 years after Merdeka, and we only have 6 more years to go before we get to our Vision 2020, which was set by Tun Mahathir a long time ago. So yeah, I definitely like to see the country moving forward, and hopefully we will do better in the next ranking. We have another country that is joining us in the FTA with ASEAN. Guess which country is that?
Well, definitely is our...
if you say it's my country, I'm going to kill you.
I didn't think about that. But definitely is our brothers and sisters from India. And India will be signing FTA with Asia soon. I think it's long overdue,
It has been going on for a very, very long time, and unfortunately, it's so hard to find details for this agreement, this FTA that they're going to sign. But we do know that it is going to happen. They have been contemplating this issue for a very, very long time, and it's finally happening. They're finally joining us and the other 10 ASEAN countries as well. And the signing of these 2 pacts, FTA in services and investments, was scheduled during the India-ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting in Myanmar last week. But the meeting was postponed as Commerce and Industry Minister Nirmala Sitharaman was not able to attend due to domestic compulsions.
What is domestic compulsion?
Probably some pressing domestic matters that needed her attention.
I like the word domestic compulsion because compulsion, it's like out of a sudden.
It's something that you just cannot avoid, and it just, So what details of
it sounds like, suddenly your house has some problem, emergency that you need to attend to. But in a global scale, it sounds
it sounds a lot more serious. And so we do, the pacts were sealed in March this year, and agreements have to be signed by all of the economic ministers in all of the countries before they are formally adopted. So we will be welcoming India into ASEAN plus 10, so I assume it will be 11 now. And Dr. Leonard De Vries is going to be very happy about this.
Unfortunately, because the minister has compelling engagement there, she could not attend the ministerial meeting that was set by the Commerce Secretary last week, but they now have received the agreement on the services and investment. So we will see a lot of services and investment here coming from India.
And another shocking news, and this is not from ASEAN, this is actually regarding ISIS, where they beheaded a second American journalist. And in this video, I didn't watch the video, but there is a few quotes that were reported also by the star.com.my, where these black-clad jihadists said, "I'm back, Obama, and I'm back because of your arrogant foreign policy towards the Islamic State." And it's the second one being beheaded. Even the first one caused quite a controversy, and of course the Americans are not going to keep quiet about that. And now there is a second one. And Arlene, you've worked with the U.S. Embassy before. How do you think that they are going to handle
I thought you're not allowed to ask questions, but I'm going to answer you anyway. Well, yesterday I managed to watch the BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, and from what it seems, the US is very furious about it. In fact, Obama gave his statement yesterday live on TV. He mentioned that this is not something that the US will allow it to happen again. They will collaborate with international forces. In fact, they are discussing to have rivals in the past, for example, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and also Turkey to work along side by side together with the US to counter ISIS, which is interesting to me because you wouldn't have imagined Saudi Arabia will be able to work alongside Iran and Turkey and the US just to counter ISIS. But in this case, foes become friends. And what another interesting point that I want to highlight yesterday that I found out from the news CNN, they highlighted Iranian military forces, which is their national guard, very revered, very effective national guard of Iran, battle alongside American forces, American military forces, which is unheard of if you ask any of the global society probably a couple of years ago.
It is a bit bizarre to see all these countries working together, but at the same time, it's great that we see a lot of people going up and against ISIS, which is committing a lot of atrocities. And a lot of people want US to stop being the world policeman, to stop stop intervening in other countries' issues. But when things like this happen, it's so hard for them to just, sit still and do nothing.
And the worst thing is, some members of ISIS are actually, not from Iran, not from Iraq or even Syria. For example, some of them are from Malaysia and even China.
China as well. Right, and I think that's all the time that we have for this morning.
That when we talk about ISIS, there will be never any story about it.
Yeah, there won't be enough time. You're right. So we will be back later for our Blast from the Grassroots.
Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, as well as listen to us live on durianasean.com or via your TuneIn app, which you can download it on your mobile and type Durian ASEAN.
And also don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. We upload new videos almost every day, videos from our speakers. And we'll see you in a bit. This is Gowri.
This is Arlene.
Bye-bye.